Objective. Factor special cases and divide polynomials. Warm up. Factor the following. X squared plus 5x minus 6. First, you want to look at A, B, and C and see if there's GCF. Here, A is 1, B is 5, C is negative 6. Their GCF is 1. So we're not going to use GCF to factor. What we're going to use is we're going to multiply A times C. So we're going to multiply these two, which is negative 6. And then we're going to expand 5 with 2 coefficient. So we can use negative 6x method. And then we're going to put 5 here. And then we're going to find two numbers I can multiply to get negative 6. But when I add, I get 5. So what you can use is positive 6 and negative 1. When I multiply these two, I get negative 6. But when I add them, I get positive 5. So we're going to use these two to expand 5x. So instead of 5x, we're going to write 6x minus 1x. Because if you do 6x minus 1x, you get 5x. So these are coefficients. The rest you just copy. And then you just factor the first two and factor the last two. So the first two, what they have in common is x. And then you're going to do x plus 6. And the next two, you put the negative sign. What they have in common is 1. So their GCF is 1. So you're going to do x plus 6. And then you have same thing here. So you're going to use the first two and write that here. And then you're going to write this here. This means when I multiply x times x, x squared, negative 1x, and then negative positive 6x give you 5x. And if I FOIL negative 1 times 6 is negative 6. So this is the answer. The next one, 3, negative 8, and 4, they don't have GCF besides 1. So I'm just going to multiply these two, which is 12. And I'm going to use the middle and expand that. Times and plus. So you need to give me two numbers you can multiply to get 12, but when I add them I get negative 8. Those are negative 6 and negative 2. When you multiply these two you get positive 12. When you add them, negative 8. So I'm going to use these two to expand this part. So I'm going to write the rest. Just use negative 6n minus 2n. And then you're going to put positive 4. Just copy these two. And then you're going to just factor the first two. So what they have in their GCF of 3 and 6 is 3. And n squared and n, there's 1n. So you're going to write n minus 2. And then you put the minus sign here. Their GCF is 2 and plus 2. I mean, it's not plus, minus 2. Because negative gives you positive 4. So right here, you're going to use these. Write 3n minus 2 times n minus 2. You just write these two once. That's the answer. Next one, their GCF of 3 and 27 is 3. So you put that in the front, and then you do x squared, and then 27 divided by 3 is 9, but there's a negative, so it's negative 9. And you're going to factor this part. So when you factor this, you have 9, and this one is a perfect square. X times x is 2, and 3 times 3 is 9. But when you factor that, it's going to be positive 3 and negative 3, because the middle is missing. So this is the answer, because when I do x times x is x squared, x times 3 is negative 3x, 3 times x is positive 3x, 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. So this part is 0. So when it goes away, you have x squared minus 9, and you need to put that in the front. You're going to multiply that to here and here, and you're going to get that. So if I do that like this, so I get the same thing. So your answer is actually this. 3 times x plus 3, x minus 3. That's the factor part. Review perfect square trinomial special products. When you have a plus b squared or a minus b squared, it is a squared plus 2ab plus b squared or a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So when you have plus there, you have minus here. So if you have 3x plus 4 squared, this means you have 3x plus 4 times 3x plus 4. And then what you're going to do is you're going to FOIL. So 3 times 3x, 3x times 3x is 3x squared. And then you're going to do this. 3x times 4 is 12x. And then you're going to do 4 times 3 is 12x. 4 times 4 is 16. You can also use the box method. And then here, just add these two, which is 24x plus 16. So this is your answer right here. Next one, x minus 5 squared means x minus 5 times x minus 5. So you will multiply. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. And then you have negative 5 times negative 5 times x, negative 5x again. And negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. So I just FOIL. And this, I just have to combine like terms here. So that's x squared minus 10x plus 25. Going in reverse, factoring a perfect square trinomial. So what you're going to do is you're going to factor this too. So we're going to look at 961, GCF is 1. So we're going to multiply A times C. So that's 9 times 1, which is 9. And then we're going to use the middle and put it here. We're going to times and then plus. So what two numbers can I multiply to get 9? But when I add, I get 6. That's 3 times 3 is 9. When I add them, I get 6. So I'm going to expand this part with those two numbers. 3x plus 3x is 6x. And then I'm going to write the rest. And then I'm going to factor the first two. So 9 and 3, their GCF is 3. X squared and then x, their GCF is x. And then you just divide here. 9 divided by 3 is 3. And this is x. And then this one is 1. You divide these two. And then I'm going to factor the next one. 3x and then 1, their GCF is 1. Then nothing else. So we're just going to write 3x plus 1. Because if you just multiply 1, you get the same thing. And then what you're going to do is use these two. You're going to put them in the front. You should always have the same thing inside the parentheses. Okay, so this means they have same, identical. So you have to write like this. 3x plus 1 squared. Because you have two of the same thing. So when you have that, just write this. This is the answer. Let's try another one. You have to put a 1. And then you're going to do a times c, which is 16. And then negative 8, make sure you put negative 8 on the bottom. So times and plus, what two numbers can I multiply to get 16? But when I add, I get negative 8. That's negative 4 times negative 4. So we're going to use these two numbers to expand this middle part. So instead of negative 8y, you're going to write negative 4y minus 4y. Because when I combine these two, I get negative 8. And the rest, you just write it down. Once you do that, you're going to factor here. So y squared minus 4y, they have one y in common. Then y minus 4. And then you're going to put the negative. And then 4 and 16. 4. Y also minus 4, because these two gives you positive 16. And then you're going to combine these two, which is y minus 4. And then here, you notice the second part, they're identical. Two of the same kind. So you, as a final answer, you have to write y minus 4, parentheses, square, because you have two of the same thing, just like what we did here. So this is the answer. This is called perfect square, because your answers are here, perfect squares. Difference of squares. A squared minus b squared equals a plus b times a minus b. We're going to use this rule here. This occurs when there are only two terms and both are perfect squares. So let's highlight or underline two terms, only two terms, and when you have perfect squares. It must be a difference, subtraction, no addition. So you need to have subtraction. So right here you have subtraction here. The two binomial factors will be identical except one will be plus, one will be minus. So highlight here or circle here and here. So right here you have 25x squared minus 100y squared. This only works when you have minus in the middle between perfect squares. So right here, square root of 25 is 5. Square root of x squared is x, because x times x is x squared. And then you're going to do square root of 100 is 10. Square root of y squared is just y, because y times y is y squared. So that's going to be your a and b. A and b. So we're going to plug it into this right here, this rule. So this means you're going to have 5x plus 10y times 5x minus 10y. So you, according to this rule, when you have a perfect square and you subtract, you're going to do a plus b times a minus b. The reason why this works, because if I do 5 times 5, 5x times 5x is 25x squared. If I do 5 times negative 10y, that's negative 50xy. If I do 10y times 5x, that's positive 50xy. If I do 10y times 10y, that will be negative 100y squared. So right here in the middle, negative 50xy plus positive 50xy, they become, because negative 50 plus 50 is additive inverse, they actually goes away because it's 0. So you end up with this 25x squared minus 100y squared, which is what we have here. So when you factor perfect square and minus, this is called difference of squares, because they're both perfect square. You're going to follow this, a plus b times a minus b, because in the middle part, they're going to cancel, because you don't have anything middle term. You only have a first term and the last term. You don't have the middle part. So that's why we use this rule. So difference of squares. Hint, always check for GCF first. So what you're going to do is, look here, you have 36x squared minus 81y squared. So what you're going to first do, when you see a difference of squares, you're going to use the rule that we just saw. So the rule was, when you have difference of squares, you have a plus b times a minus b. So we're gonna do that for this. So right here, square root of 36